We are finishing up our cable management before we get this guy on the road. I've got a whiskey in tow, and Kojin is wondering, you're wondering what's going on, aren't you? What are we doing? You're going to say a meow to everyone? No? No meows? Okay, all right. You're diligently watching, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, so um, basically, I managed to get this guy in. So we've got this solid state time of flight LiDAR, so a TF Mini Plus. You know, when I got budget, I'll probably add another guy here. So one guy here, one guy here. But right now, this is doing a good job, just being a kind of LiDAR guard. So you know, you usually get that kind of spinning version. So this guy is basically just kind of supplementing what's happening with the neural depth with the Z2. So with the Z2, I'm able to get a kind of approximation of you know, kind of how far objects are from this guy, as well as getting in the same kind of computer vision loop, also getting my YOLO 26N detections. So it's happening at the same time. They're both happening in the same kind of loop, due to the fact that I have these stereo lenses here. So once again, time of flight, solid state, LiDAR. We'll get another one here. Not really bothered about it right now. It's really just, you know, just to make sure he doesn't bump into anything while he's kind of mid detection and tracking and so on. So that's looking good. Oh yeah, something I wanted to say. I see if you're doing something similar to me. So if you have a solid state LiDAR and you want to hook it up, don't make the mistake I made of getting, I think it's a CH340 for USB to serial. It's garbage. So if you're doing like really kind of mucky memory management like I'm doing, so there's a lot of going on with this guy at the same time, because this is only 8 GB of unified RAM. So I'm having to do a lot of kind of crazy stuff. And I'll probably start, you know, adding bits of my code, or kind of releasing publicly bits of the code for you guys to see, so you can see how much of a mess some of the modules are, or at least how finicky they have to be, or how pedantic they have to be to have all of this running in one just kind of Jetson or in Nano. So again, the CH340, throw this in the bin, get yourself an FTDI. These are way better at dealing with kind of port closures and so on without there being basically it getting like soft bricked. So you basically have to do a power cycle again for this to get back up off the ground, whereas these guys are way better handling that kind of programmatic messiness that we've got going on in here. So I've also got this glued into place now. Not very proud of having to glue it, but I can't really get into there anymore in terms of screwing these ideas in. Hello, what am I explaining? So I'm finishing up the cable management for this guy. I've been throwing up loads of videos of it lately. This is a fully offline robot. Everything just runs on this guy. So the object detection, the LiDAR, the neural depth, his text to speech, so his voice synthesis and everything, that all happens just on this Orin Nano. And I'm just finishing up the cable management to get him on the ground, just knocking around, chasing this guy, Kojin, who's got a sock. You got a sock of a new Kojin. You gonna say something? No, he's not gonna say something. So I was explaining earlier, I've got this solid state time of flight. Yeah, I did build it. It's taken me ages. It's all from parts. It used to be this tiny little Raspberry Pi robot, and I just kept adding to it and getting obsessed with it. And then I've added this for Micah Ray here, so he can, so I can speak to him. I can ask for commands and so on, and ask for navigation status. And this, I think it's like 16 servos right now in his arms. Check out the other videos so you can see him in action. And I was saying this earlier, this is a Z2 stereo camera. So I'm able to get object detection from YOLO, from a neural network, a pretty lightweight guy, running in conjunction with like stereo, like neural depth. So all of that's ready to go. And I've put a Raspberry Pi 4 in here. I've just kind of glued it on. Maybe it'll be a Raspberry Pi 5 at some point. I'm just outsourcing the compute basically so this guy has full control over this little vector. So I can ask him, or he can decide to kind of trigger this guy. And the way he does that is by outsourcing it to this Raspberry Pi 4 here. And then down here, we've got a Talent Cell battery pack. And that just runs this guy. And then down here, we've got a LiPo, just a RC battery, and that runs his tracks and his arms and his head, his pan and tilt. So I just need to finish doing this, and then it will all run fully mobile. So right now I'm just hooked up to kind of power down here, this messy bunch of cables. But once I finish this, probably today, I'll get a test run tomorrow or the next day of this guy. So in the other videos, he's offline right now because, safety and so on. He can basically just follow me, navigate with his depth perception and so on. And we'll get him going around the apartment, and we'll start working on kind of mapping. People are saying stuff in here. Thank you for saying the robot's beautiful. I appreciate it. Yeah, you don't need to. I mean, I don't always understand what I'm talking about either. It's, I know the general concepts. I'm getting there. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with some of this technology, we've got a Orin Nano. So this is a super version. So it's basically like software overclocked. It already had the ability to go to super, but it's basically been unlocked in that sense. And it's a system on chip. So in here, there's a single chip that's basically unified RAM, the GPU, the CPUs are all in that one chip. And then everything else is hooked up to. So you got these guys here that are running from the GPIO pins. That's similar to the Raspberry Pi 4 there. And then, so these are basically hooked up to this messy custom circuitry that I have in place here. So we've got the board for the servos here, and then we've got the board down here for the motors. And it's all jumper cables while I'm testing it before we actually really lock it in place, right? And this is 3D printed from a super cool guy in Glasgow back when I lived there. I live in Toronto now. How long is the power? So that's going to be that. Thank you for the questions. I actually don't know how long it's going to last yet. That's going to be part of the kind of road testing on this. What would be really cool is if we hook it all up to wireless, right? So wireless charging, so maybe that'll come down the line. But this LiPo here is a 7.4 volt. And it's supposed to last on RC planes and stuff that are like doing a lot of work. It's supposed to last like a few hours. And this guy doesn't do a lot of work. So he's like, if I'm asking him what he can see, he'll like raise his arm and point to what he can see, or he'll wave hello, but it's not like super intensive. He isn't constantly doing stuff. So this battery, like I've been testing it and it lasts hours. And this lasts quite a few hours as well. So, but I need to record that, and we need to get kind of battery monitors in place. And battery monitors in place are going to be leave Toronto. Why? Why is that? What don't you like about Toronto? I came here for my job. I had to come here. 2016 Toronto was super vibrant, and yeah, a lot of cities are being hit totally in terms of but it's getting back on his feet. There's lots of cool stuff happening. Thank you for your opinion, though. I appreciate it. What was I saying? I've forgotten what I was saying now. I got distracted by the Toronto comment. But yeah. Any other questions? Otherwise, I will get off the stream. So what I was saying was, so the reason it's going to be vital for us to get a battery monitor for this guy and this guy is once we've tested this guy on the road, we need to put in some kind of battery aware kind of home recognition into his mapping. So, you know, the popular algorithms like SLAM and RTAB map and all these different kind of algorithms that I can use with this stereo camera to map this entire apartment. So point clouds and so on. If I want to build the ability for him to come back to his charging station, which is probably down here or something, then we're going to have to do what you guys were saying about in terms of, you know, actually recognizing how much battery power programmatically we have instead of me kind of just doing this guessing game that I'm kind of throwing at you guys. I guess the last thing I have to say to you guys is that, so like I said, this is in, this Raspberry Pi is going to be powered by this little USB thing here. And it's literally just outsourcing. I'm repeating myself to this guy. And what I was thinking of doing as well is put in, what do you guys reckon in the chat? I was thinking of putting this guy either as like a plate here or on his arm. And then I can ask him to go into maintenance mode, and like he moves his arm up and he's like, okay, I'm in maintenance mode. And then I can kind of check his statistics and so on this screen, or I can kind of switch off certain aspects, like I can switch off his track and so on. And what I was thinking is when he's in idle mode, then he can have like a cool insignia, right? Or like a cool logo that's like, you know, this like sci-fi kind of like sigil that's like, his name's Mr. B. So it'll be like the, you know, this is Mr. B's logo, or we get, you know, a sense of his emotions, and you can just give, maybe, you know, if I'm, you know, eventually get into the full design I want, we can have like, I can call in to people or call into other robots and we'll get a feed on there, and, you know, so many cool ideas. But yeah, stop by tomorrow. I think tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to get this guy on the ground, and I'll get a shot up and we'll get him following me. And yeah, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you all for your excitement about it. There's so many people saying that he's a beautiful robot. He is a beautiful robot. Check out the other videos. Subscribe if you can. And I'll speak to you all soon, and thank you.